black stuff that comes to mind. But up and up.
My entire career, I've been accused of being biased towards EG. All right, Avery, another episode of Not for Broadcast. We literally just got done 5 minutes ago closing out the North American qualifier, which means we will not get to talk about the conclusion of the Chinese qualifier, which is a little sad.
My boy Jack Chen's going. Like, I already locked it in, so it's fine. It's fine. We already know it's going to be G2IG.
All right. Which one do you start with, NA or China?
We'll start with China. Save it.
Okay. Save the North America rant for later.
Save the dessert.
Okay. It's a dessert, goddamn. All right. So Chinese qualifier went on, and we talked about how the fact that there are 3 contenders for 2 spots, but wait, there's also Team Turtle. Old Warriors looking pretty good, maybe, but wait, they're matched up against Team Turtle as well at the same time. Okay, that sucks. So maybe there's four contenders for this spot, and just immediately that goes all wrong with the first slot taken away from Azure Ray. Team 0 2-1. G2IG 2-1 Azure Ray, and they will claim the first spot in China. Why are you shaking your head?
I mean, because now my prediction is only going to be half right. Goddamn upsetters. You know, and they did it with Pango. That's the disgusting part. They're the Pango players in China. Like, just disgusting. But congrats to those guys. That's a big upset to beat both those teams in a 2-1 to get your slot. And, I mean, it's an interesting mix of a team. Like, this team has Blink as a coach as well, I was reading. It has Ponlo, who, this guy has been around the block. I played with him at a tournament, believe it or not. He's come a long way, earned himself a spot at TI. Just a crazy run by them. But don't underestimate Blink God, man. That guy is wild, dude. Going back to TI6, he is one of the most strange, successful players I've ever seen in my life. So it does not surprise me he found a little bit of success somewhere else eventually down the road, if not as a player, as a coach.
Yeah, he kind of dropped off the map, right? Wings happened, and then he was kind of done, and then he was gone for almost 6 years before he popped out, joined Extreme Gaming as a coach last year, and then now this year for Team 0, and found some success. I wonder what he did in that period of time. 6 years, just gone.
Dude, who knows, man? That guy is a wild card, bro. Like his TI6 performance is it's one of the weirdest I've ever seen, man. Like this guy just comes in, he's like 6K MMR. Nobody knows what he plays, but apparently he plays everything.
He just looks like he's 40 years old.
Guy looks 40. He just dumps on your ass every game. 13-2, 14-1, 12-3. Just outlaning people, going even with Sumail. He wouldn't say that, but he was. Like, the other thing is he just kept picking up heroes at tournament. Like, people were starting to develop things like the Mirana and stuff. Oh, he just plays Mirana now and just like owns with like people, we Haas playing Invoker at that tournament. Oh, he's just playing Invoker now and just like playing it better than other people. Just out of control, just dominated people. Ungankable. I remember this guy was ungankable. Like, could not gank this guy. He just knew. Guy had vac hacks out the wazoo. But enough about him. Congrats to that team. I did not see that one coming at all. But
nope.
Team Turtle still going strong. My boy Somnish just obliterating that lower bracket, bro. You look at this man's KDA right now. Have you looked at this man's KDA? Like,
has he dropped 20 on anybody yet?
8-1, 7-0. Let me tell you something, Austin. The only reason this man hasn't dropped 20 on someone's ass so far is because he's ending the goddamn game so quick. He don't have time. The game's ending. He's 7-0, 9-0, 10-1. Like, the game's over. The man don't have enough time to farm kills. He's too damn good. At this point, he might go to TI, honestly. Like, this guy looks absolutely unstoppable. I don't know why this guy is not on a tier 1 team for the majority of these seasons. Maybe he has real life stuff or logistical stuff, I know, but like, Jesus Christ, this guy just shits on people. There's nowhere. He just takes a dump on everybody this guy plays. He's one of the best TI killers of all time. One of the highest scoring Dota players of all time, according to my arbitrary scoring metric that Knoxville made up. He's in the top 3. I mean, people got to respect this man, because you drop it in the lower bracket, like you drop down into that, what's that, the trap in Star Wars where you're in the garbage compactor. You know,
The
you drop down there.
Garbage chute.
Yeah, this man's waiting for you. He just like pops up. Dude, that's the last face you want to see in that lower bracket. I'm telling you, bro, that is a scary qualifier. So I think my boy Jack Chen still got it locked in. You know, I'm still going to give it to my boy Jack. He's locked in, but that's going to be a tough series to beat that man because he's just got a vengeance right now. And he ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And he's dropping some dimes. He's dropping some dimes out there. God damn. Brutal.
So these teams drop down the garbage chute into the trash compactor, drop down to the lower bracket, and Somnus is there sitting in the muck and mire of the lower bracket, ready to take your ass.
They're ready to shank you right in the gut. This man don't give a damn, bro. I'm telling you. This guy's a killer. Straight killers. There's some killers in Dota 2, right? I told my team this once. Didn't work out too well, but there's some straight killers in Dota 2. Okay, Sumail is one of the OG killers. Still the highest kill total. We're seeing that on Reddit today. You know, where is Sumail? This guy's the highest killer at TI. Somnus is a killer, man. This guy is a killer. Goes in game, drops 15, 18, 20 on your ass. You don't even know what happened. Does it with some random ass hero too. Like this guy's playing Kunkka back in the old days. He didn't have no Torrent Storm. He didn't have jack shit. He's just cleaving your ass 50 times in a game, dropping 15. Like the man's an OG killer gangster, bro. You gotta respect this man. I feel like nobody respects him. I feel like I'm the only player sometimes who respects this guy. Everybody forgets about him.
One of the most respected Chinese players.
Every year, nobody is on the radar. I don't hear any analysts talking about Somnus just because he didn't play all year. So he disappeared.
Not playing.
So what? You forget about him. That's what he does. Lures you into the false sense of security, and then he shanks your ass from the garbage compactor, and you're done. Your season's over. You're done. Where is LGD right now? About to miss their first TI in like 18 years or some shit. I don't know where they are. Got Somnus. Maybe they remember where he was now. That's all I'm saying. I'll drop the topic, but like, goddamn, someone put some respect on this man's name because he's coming for you. I don't know what's going to happen in the rest of these quals. I thought my boy Jack Chen had it locked in, but the more I'm listening to myself, the more I'm convincing myself. I think Somnus is just going at this rate. I think he's just going because he's a killer. He's about to kill him.
It's a crazy performance that he's having as a player who has been in the game for over a decade at a tier 1 level. He might have, like, there is probably an argument that he is the player who has had the strongest individual performance for the entirety of his career. The man's career is done and he comes back and he's still doing it. It's crazy. The streamer team is doing it in China for now. Their toughest opponents, the actual, like the strongest opponents, the G2IG and Azure Ray, now stand in their way because Azure Ray got knocked down. Well, they both got knocked down by Team Zero. So now you can't do it just once. You have to do it twice. But they already did it to LGD. LGD for the first time, I think, in TI history, are not going to be at the international.
That's wild, man. Wild.
I mean, I would say it's sad, but it's kind of not, given all the stuff that's come out about LGD and them holding back player payments. So you know what? It sounds like karma to me. It sounds like karma. Got what they deserved. Unfortunate for the players on that team. They, obviously they have no impact on that sort of thing. But LGD already knocked out, and only one of Azure Ray, G2IG, and Team Turtle is gonna push through. So you said Bach, my man Bach, he's always gonna make TI. Somnus is looking like an unstoppable force in the lower bracket, and you've got Jack Chen trying to beat both of them.
The only thing standing between those guys on TI right now is my boy Jack. That's it. He's the last beacon of hope. Or my boy Somnus is about to do it. I don't know. This guy just looks unstoppable, dude. So I will look forward to waking up and seeing what those results are. That is going to be a tight one, dude. A tight one. China's had a lot of slots in some of these past TIs, but performance was a little lacking. They don't get that 4th or 5th one they've sometimes had. So it's going to come down to the wire. That's how it be. Times are clutch.
Make your prediction. Because the video is going to come out. The results will already be there. So the viewer is going to get direct feedback on whether you were wrong or right.
Bro, I already made my prediction, dog. Jack Chen got them locked. Okay. It's locked. The slot is already G2IG's. I ain't even going to change it. I ain't going to think about changing it, but I will add that asterisk. That boy Somnus coming for their ass. So they better be ready for him. That's all I'm saying. If they're not ready, he's going to take them down. He's going to take them down if they're not ready, but they should be ready. My boy Jack's been playing 20 pubs a day. He's been grinding that Venomancer. He knows what's coming, so he should be ready. But if they're not ready, I mean, I'm not going to have any sympathy. I'm not going to have any sympathy for my boy Jack because
I mean, you shouldn't. It's a streamer team. How are these guys beating teams?
That ain't no goddamn streamer team. That ain't no streamer team. I'd take that team over like 80% of the teams in the world. I'm not even
but they apparently did not scrim leading
roster.
up to this.
That's an advantage for some of these squads. You disband scrimming, man. Like sometimes it's better. That team secret team that won like 8 lands in a row with Nisha, they didn't fucking scrim. They never scrimmed. I remember talking to Sunby when I was thinking about recruiting him as a coach, and I was like talking about Secret's mentality on that roster and what led him to success. So they just didn't scrim. Nobody wanted to, it was better they didn't scrim. Just take the time off, chill, come back refreshed. Fuck scrimming. That shit's for losers. We just show up at land and beat your ass. The group stage
they had a mentality
of
like a short window of figuring it out.
Yeah.
At the tournament. You figure it out. You go to the LAN event. You figure it out in the scrims leading up to the official days.
Exactly.
You figure it out in the group stage, and you go.
So if you're good, man, that you don't need no scrim. My boy Solomon don't need no scrim. That man just show up and kill your ass. So, okay, I'm done with China though. That's all I got to say about China.
I'm taking Azure Ray. I mean, not that anybody cares apparently about my predictions. Avery's just like, I got my prediction. Let's move on, everybody. Faith Beyond and FY will not be denied at TI. I have faith. Okay. All right.
We'll see.
All right. You ready? You ready for the main course or the dessert, as you put it? Talk about the North American qualifier.
I ain't got nothing left to say. I ain't got nothing left to say, man. I feel like I already said it.
Yeah.
3-0 nouns. You were laughing at me 2 weeks ago. I mean, honestly, I just feel bad. About? I just feel bad. I feel like people at this point think I hate this team. Bad. Like, I don't hate this team. I don't have anything against their players. I like Arteezy.
I did see a lot of comments in chat about like, oh, Avery's rant about Shopify based. Like
I just say it like it is. At this point, I'm over the point where I feel like I have to pretend to be nice to them, and I'm just gonna say it like it is for their benefit because these guys need a wake up call. That's how I feel, right? I think they need a wake up call. I know Boba. I've hung out with this guy at so many tournaments. I've talked to him. I've worked with him. He's a great guy, but he's super stubborn. That's one of his weaknesses. He's incredibly stubborn, and those two have been together for super long. And sometimes you get stuck in these like bubble think tanks where you all just are on this one direction. You can't get out of it, and you're not willing to let other people come and shake you out of it, right? I feel that situation. I've been there too on teams. It's rough to get out of. I think they need a wake up call. That's it. That's what I'm trying to give them, a wake up call for their own benefit. And if they don't like me for it, whatever. I'm beyond that. I'm just going to say it like it is. And they're struggling. And it's sad to see because I think that team is fun to watch. I think Arteezy's an amazing player to watch when he's hitting his stride in his prime and playing his signature heroes and all that.
I mean, he had a couple of sick plays in that finals where they were getting 3-0 stomped. Yeah,
I agree. It's just they can't find the structure that works for them, honestly. It's not even about like people playing bad or whatever. We can meme about it, but it's like they had some structure when it on that old roster, right? It was like Fly, Crit, Bulba, Artur. Something did work about that roster. Like they had some success, they had some structure, and that's really good for them. But something always just pushes it a certain direction too far. And maybe it's stubbornness. I don't know, but it bit him in the ass this time for sure. I felt like I just saw it coming. It just feels like a repetitive pattern at this point. I don't know what else to say. I feel like at this point, I don't know. I just wish these guys find some sort of direction because they need it. I'm just more happy for now because I got my boy Les Lau on that team who, I'm biased for, of course, but I'm not going to say that on cast, but like I'm rooting for that man because I played with him for a long time and I know how hard he works and how much he likes going to these tournaments and working his ass off to get there. And he's just a good dude. I'm just super happy for him, honestly. Like what a way to end the season for these guys going to EWC and TI, and they're doing it over their biggest rival. Like I can tell you, when you grow up playing in NA and you play all these seasons in North America forever, for anybody who has played in NA at all in the history of this region, you have been gatekept. There's been a point in your career where you have been gatekept by those motherfuckers on that team. That is the reality. They may not like to hear it, but that's how it is. I'm not saying like nefarious gatekeeping.
Yeah, saying, let's clear up that gatekeeping accusation here.
Not cabal action or something like that, or like, beat you and they go to the LAN qualifications, right? Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of periods in NA where there's one slot to qualify. There's another qualification, one slot. EWC, one slot, right? For years and years, one slot. And they get that slot and they gatekeep you over and over. And sometimes you have to play for a year and lose every qualification to this roster over and over and over. And
just so you could get the TI in a qualifier, because EG gets invited, and that's like the one tournament you get to go to.
And we've had rosters with great players on there who choke that, right? Like you go back to that like Freedom roster with CCNC. You go back to like the Nouns roster that choked it that one year. Gunner's been there, right? These guys have been there. So for you to qualify for TI is huge. For you to beat this team to do it, even if it's not the same team, it's the same core players. It's Bulba, Arteezy. You've played against them forever. Damn, does it feel good? I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah, they're beating you all year, right?
Yes, it's like you're overcoming that hill finally, even if you've done it before. So I know those guys are super happy right now, and it sucks to be in Shopify's position because I don't know what you do now for like the rest of the year. That is just a very hollow feeling. It is heartbreaking. Not going to TI. It's depressing, man. People don't like to talk about it in Dota because I think a lot of times these sort of things get buried under the rug. I think they do in like competitive sports in general, because I think sports and competition is about like lifting people up to a general degree. There's this undercurrent of it's there to help people get through their lives or find some excitement in their life or build storylines that are hopeful and optimistic and all this. And there's this other dark side of competition that's like, you know, the dirty stuff you do to maybe get that win, or the way you treat people behind the scenes, right? Or what you're willing to do to achieve victory, how you're willing to treat friends or people that you know and love to get that dub at the end of the day. Another part of that is the bad mentality of losing. Like sometimes you have a bad mentality of winning, but more often than not, it's what happens when you lose and what does that feel like and how you get in your own head. You start to doubt everything you're doing. And I'm sure there's people out there who've been in that position, for whatever that is in life. That feeling is absolutely terrible. And I sympathize with anybody going through that feeling because I've been there, and it's tough to get out. It's tough to get out of that. So that side is something that not a lot of people talk about, and it happens in Dota a lot. You know, I've had close friends in Dota that have talked to me about it. That feeling of loss, specifically in Dota, because most people have committed their lives to this, hits very, very hard. And it's depressing. It feels hollow. It feels like you've wasted your entire life sometimes. Like, I know that maybe sounds like an over exaggeration to some people, but TI was that big for so long. And if you don't go, what are you doing in the year? What are you doing with your life? What are you doing on this team? What is your career doing, right? Like, it makes that big a difference for these guys. So we can sit on here and meme, and I like to meme and rant, and like, you know, I'm going to be super happy for the guys who make it, but I also know what it's like not to make it. And that is a very tough position. So I'm not going to meme about that side of it. Like, I hope those guys find some good direction and are able to push through it. And I genuinely wish them the best. And I hope they come back strong, man. Tough position.
Yeah. The downside of losing. I mean, for those guys, right? Arteezy, we're bringing up this during the cast, but Arteezy has attended every single TI as a player since he first started playing at TI4. So, you know, through all the bouncing around from EG to Secret, EG maybe didn't, you know, never won the TI. It's been a while since he won an event, didn't win any majors, but he was always there. He's always been there, and he won't be there this year. And neither will Bulba, unless somebody wants to pick him up as a coach or something. But I don't think that sort of thing happens anymore. You know, Bulba has been there. You know, he was there early on with EG at TI2, Liquid at TI3, right? And not long after that, you know, started transitioning to player. I think his first TI he missed was TI5, actually.
No, he was pseudo coaching EG at TI5.
Yeah. But I meant as a player. That was the first time he missed it, and then because he missed it, that was at the point in time where people started being like, "Oh, players who don't make it, the guys who are really knowledgeable, we pick them up as a coach," and that was one of the first transitions there.
Much easier to get a coaching slot back then too. I mean, none of these teams had coaches. Now it's man, there's competition and people know it. So you can't just slot yourself in as much anymore. I think Boba is super valuable to some teams that might be going. He could probably get like an analyst role on a team if he really wanted to, but maybe he just wants to chill as well, right? Take a step back. Sometimes gaining perspective in Dota is like the best thing you can do. I always talk about it, but like an option is sometimes just not doing anything. It's rough, but sometimes it's the best because you gain perspective. You get to take a step back. You get to kind of refresh your ideas, see what develops, and then maybe an opportunity arises, right? And sometimes you just get stuck in a cycle of going one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and you don't let things develop outside of your own sphere. And that's sometimes just something that works in life in general, but I think in Dota it's particularly true. The downside and the risk is like maybe you get left by the wayside. But I feel like more often than times, if you're good, you're continuing to work, you have value to teams, you'll find something.
Yeah, if you want it. I guess that's the next question is like, do these guys want it, right? Because it is, this is effectively like rock bottom for both those two guys, both Arteezy and Bulba. This is the worst performance that they've had so far. And they've had very long careers. And I feel like I keep hearing right around the corner, there's going to be a bunch of players retiring. So I do wonder if either one of those considers it. I think Arteezy in particular is something just because he already has the cake deal. I already felt like when the cake deal was announced, I was like, is this the beginning of like Arteezy, like transitioning out from player to?
I don't see it. I don't see these guys retiring. No.
Okay. So in that case, what is next though? If they are not going to retire, you said you needed a different perspective. I feel like this is one of those things where Arteezy, I don't want him to copy what everybody else is doing and go into Europe in that regard, but like I do almost feel like you need to go to a different region almost and like just set yourself in an entirely different atmosphere, just full reset.
I've said it before, it has nothing to do with Arteezy or Boba, but if you're playing an NA, you're playing a losing game at this point. Like you need to go to Europe. If you want to be competitive in North America, you got to go to Europe. It's just how it is. And you might not have the logistical options sponsors wise and all that. And it might not be a team you're super happy with. You just got to do it because it's just too rough. Like I'm even concerned for Nouns, for example, like they win here, but what are your scrims like? What are your pubs like? What is your competitive environment like year round? That adds up. And you saw what Fly was saying in that interview. Sure, they feel good qualifying, but you go to TI and you get last. I mean, who gives a damn, right? It's not worth anything anymore, especially with the new prize pool payouts. Literally worthless. It's like zero. So you get some experience. But at this point in Dota's history, like experience is just not worth as much as it was anyway. When you have people that are like ATF coming out at 16, just dumping on people, right?
Yeah, we have Royal Roaders like Thompson.
Yeah, who gives a damn if you've been... Like some of these guys are like, look at these dudes. They're like, you've been to 6 TIs? Okay. Good job, bro. I don't give a shit. Like I'm going to go out there and beat your ass. Right. So I just feel like the time for that stuff is gone. You want to go to these lanes and do well. That's what you're building towards. And so in that sense, maybe this NA qualifier spot doesn't even matter to a degree if neither of these teams could have done well. That's a big question mark. I think Nouns have a decent shot of doing well. I'm not saying they don't, but that's a much bigger step. And again, to do well at lands, what's the best thing that can help you? The best competitive environment, and that's Europe for these NA players. Not for every region, but for NA, that is it. Yeah, you got to go there. You just have to at this point. Like you can't sit around and wait for some NA resurgence or whatever. You have to take the risk. You have to decide if you want to win and take that gamble, or you want to do what's comfortable or get paid more, whatever that is. It's tough. It's not an easy decision. I'm not saying, there's lifestyle stuff. Not everybody can just move to Europe and be happy doing that. You have to consider what you're happy doing and all that, but it's tough. I just don't see Bulba retiring, man. I think that guy,
I feel like that guy lives and breathes Dota man. Too much. I don't think he can stop doing Dota. But I do think it's an option for Arteezy.
I think that's one of the things people underestimate, or they don't get, maybe not underestimate, but they don't get to see, because you see the decisions that Dota teams make, you see the decisions coaches make and what players make, but you don't see how they arrive at them, and you don't see the amount of work relative people put into those decisions, right? Or the value they bring to the table in terms of, knowledge vastness. And I think that is one thing I've always respected about Bulba, is that guy knows more about Dota, knows more about the history of Dota, the games played in Dota 2, enemy of teams, opponent players, their tendencies, what they want to play, what they like to do. This guy is like, he knows more about that stuff than anybody I've ever met in the game. And it's not close. He lives and breathes this game, and it adds up over time. And it's like some photo collection of, he could tell you every stat on every player, like ever. And that is huge for a team. It gives you so much confidence that your coach knows all that and is prepared for everybody and is watching them play all these pubs and these games and is up to date on every opponent team and all that. And that makes your decision making better. And so, are they struggling with certain issues now? Yes, but that doesn't mean these guys aren't valuable and they can't work in the right team environment. And we've seen it again and again in Dota history. Just because you don't work in a certain team doesn't mean you can't work somewhere else, right? Just because I didn't get to win every major with Quinn on my team, this guy goes to Gaming Gladiators and he's the best mid in the world for a year. I've said it before. It's not like he magically became 10x better. He did become better, and a lot of things changed about his mentality, and that team was obviously better than ours. But they were a better team, both player-wise, but also at making him work. Like, being the best team means you unlock each other. So just because certain players fail on certain teams at certain points doesn't mean they can't find that success again. And I feel like someone like Bulba he's gonna continue to try and find that, because the guy loves Dota too much and genuinely has a passion for it, and he brings too much value to the table for him not to find a place somewhere in the scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of interesting. We had this conversation, I don't know, last episode, 2 episodes ago, talking about Tundra and storylines and all that sort of thing. And we are in one of those situations right here, right? There is a storyline that is too big not to talk about and talk about at length. But there are some other guys for Shopify Rebellion. Mind Control is kind of whatever. He slotted into the team last minute. I don't really feel like there was too much there. But Scam and Yopaj, obviously Southeast Asian players who probably gave up a lot of their time away from their home to try and commit to a team that doesn't end up getting the success at the end of the year when it mattered.
It's just tough, man. Like, it really is. Cannot emphasize how hard going through that is, because it's just, where do you go from here when that happens, right? And it's going to be the case for a lot of these teams. Like, we're talking about NA, but these Euro quals are going to happen in 3 or 4 days. And some of those teams are going to be in the same position, right?
Yep.
If OG doesn't make it, if Secret doesn't make it, if Entity doesn't make it, if Tundra doesn't make it, if some of these big name teams get upset by whoever, there's only a limited amount of slots, someone's not making it, you're in the same position. Like, what do these guys do, right? If Puppy doesn't make TI again, is he retiring? Is he done? If Seb doesn't make
one
TI,
streamer stack is already killed an org in this qualifier, so you got to watch out.
I mean, I guess the commiserations for them is they have EWC. Some of those teams have EWC already locked, like Tundra and OG. That's maybe a big enough win. Like, you're not feeling too bad about the year if you don't go to TI, but TI is TI, man. I don't care how much money you win somewhere else or how big those titles are. It is what you play for as a Dota player to get your name on that Aegis. That means a lot.
It's also a European TI, which we have not had one yet.
Yes.
Right. We had Romania TI during COVID, no audience, right? This would be the first time we'll have a TI on European soil that fans can join. And that is obviously going to be a very big deal for the European players specifically that are going to be playing in this qualifier. So
100%. I mean, I know I've talked to guys like Crit and stuff, and like, you can see the excitement in these players' eyes.
Yeah.
And you can see how much they're looking forward to having a home ground TI that they get to compete for and have their families there maybe for the first time, right? Some of these people are like, I mean, even Cinderin, he was thrilled to have it in Copenhagen as a talent, right? Like, it's just cool. So it is important for these European teams to make this one. I would agree. There's a little extra spice there, a little extra pressure, right? Maybe some of these orgs are close by, like, not that Liquid's right there, but like, they're next door, basically. They've been there for a huge amount of time.
They can bring their entire 15-person staff and 100 people from their organization.
So if you're an org like that and you're trying to qualify, a little extra pressure on top. The players all feel that shit, man. Like, people don't think they feel it, but they do. You feel it from that org, oh, let's go to Europe TI, guys. And like, all of a sudden, oh yeah, forgot about that. And a little extra pressure and choke a game here or there. And you don't make it. So you got to watch out. You got to watch out there.
All right. Well, I think we could kind of keep this one short and sweet, because we're going to talk about the rest of the qualifiers as they happen. Again, these episodes happen twice a week, so we are going to talk about the next round of qualifiers that are going to be happening. We'll wrap up the Chinese qualifier on the next episode and see if Avery was right as much as he has been about the qualifiers so far. I will just say we didn't go to a game 5. Didn't happen.
I mean, you gotta throw out some like
qualifiers. fake
fake predictions every now and then that are, you know, are gonna be wrong, so people don't think you're just hacking. Because otherwise, they're just gonna come here for like betting advice or something. We can't have that. You know, I can't have people using my knowledge for the personal gain. So I gotta throw some red herrings in there every now and then that I know aren't true, just to throw people off the scent. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it was going to be a 3-0. I just didn't want to call it because I feel like that's too brazen. Too much bias as a caster, too, man. I can't be going out there being biased, like that hard bias for a certain team, you know. They're going to say, oh, this guy's just friends with Lelis. He's just rooting for his boy. Yeah, maybe. Go fuck yourself. But I'm not going to, like, say that on the cast. So you gotta tone it down, Austin. That's called professionalism, Austin.
You know what my favorite part is being tied with you. And the Shopify rant that you had and everything. My entire career, I've been accused of being biased towards EG.
I mean, you are. It's fair accusation.
I am not. I don't give a shit. But just because I'm a North American, just because I'm an American caster, I've had to help that. And
just
now I've got the guy who has leveraged the most criticism towards that squad of anybody publicly.
Who?
Yeah, you.
That's not me. How is it me, dude? How am I the one who's leveraged the most? Have you read any Reddit thread against this team in the last like 4 years?
The public
is responsible.
Come on.
The public is responsible. I hold the mob with the pitchforks responsible. I simply tell it like it is, Austin. Unbiased reporting here. Unbiased reporting.
Well,
professionalism.
I will just say, those accusations are still out there, no matter how much you criticize the team. It won't stop. It won't stop. It's still there. And I saw it in his chat, and I thought that was funny. Question for Avery and me. I'm included in these questions now, so you can also ask me a question, but mostly Avery.
Does Austin eat raw meat?
What? All right. Our question for this week is, during the previous segment, you mentioned the cultural interaction between players. Since the casting ball is so multicultural, are there any funny stories where cultural differences pop up? Or I guess this is just an opening for any funny story you have had since joining the talent scene, right? Because you had a pretty illustrious career as a pro player, played that side of the game, and now you're on a different side of the game, on the talent side. So, you know, talk about any of the differences there, anything that you can think of.
I mean, there's some Slack stuff that comes to mind, but I'm not saying that publicly.
Not safe for broadcast is a title, but it's also very fitting
not
for Slacks.
safe anywhere. But I'll say Slacks has definitely done his fair share of cultural mishaps. That's how I'll phrase that. I think everyone can use their imagination on those.
Yeah.
Anybody else, man?
The funny part is about Slacks when it comes to that sort of thing is he is such an earnest person and so charismatic in a goofy way that nobody ever really treats anything that he says or does with any malice, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Everyone just, no matter, even if there's a language barrier, everyone just understands that this guy just made an oopsie.
Man, I can't believe I can't think of any. Dude, every time I'm like put on the spot about some story in Dota, I can't think of it. But if I'm just talking about random shit,
that's
it
how
comes
it goes
to my mind instantly. It's like,
all right, so
damn.
Okay, so what about just differences in talent life versus player life?
Oh, I have a Jack Chen story.
You always got a Jack Chen story when you need it.
This is not an like extended story. This is just a quick Jack Chen story for the lovers out there.
The emergency shoot, need to fill Jack Chen story. Go.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. He is talent for the record. He was talent. So
Yeah,
this counts, but
It
we were
does.
in Chongqing for that major,
Uh-huh.
which is a city in China known for like, they have a very specific variety of spicy hot pot that they're known for.
Yeah.
So we go to a hot pot place. First off, we get lost going there. We walk in a circle around this highway like 4 times while Jack's trying to figure out how to use the GPS. They should know how to
because that
use,
city
but
is
for
just
some reason they
built
can't.
on top of each other.
No, that
right?
was not the problem. I mean, that city
Okay.
is extremely confusing, but that was not the problem. Like, we just couldn't get over the highway.
Okay.
Whatever. We go to the hot pot place. We start eating. It's like pretty late at night. Not a lot of people in there. It's just us and like 2 other tables. No other foreigners either. Like, it's like a local small location. So we order some hot pot. We get half and half, like the medium spicy or whatever, and non-spicy. Because I don't like eating spicy food at land, because I don't want it to like fuck me up for the next
Sure.
day, and then I just can't play. Like, I like spicy food, but I'm not gonna eat it while I'm in a tournament or whatever. So we're eating this hot pot, and this Chinese guy comes up to us, starts talking to Jack in Chinese, looks really offended. Jack like doesn't know what he says at first, and then he's like, "What?" And then he repeats it, and then he just leaves. And this guy was like pretty drunk too.
Okay.
And apparently, Jack translated this for us. Basically, what this guy said, he's drunk. He like came up. He like looks at what we're eating and just goes like, "That's edible? Like, you can eat that?" The implication being that like he had never seen someone order hot pot in that city that wasn't the max spiciness.
yeah.
And the literal interpretation is like, that's even consumable for a human. Basically, like, what are you, a bitch? Like, order the real fucking hot pot. Like, what is this? What the fuck is this? This guy was like insulted that we ordered this in this restaurant. And Jack was so confused. The look on his face was priceless. Like, this guy came up, random dude, just like, "That's edible? Like, what are you, a bitch?" And Jack's just like, "Are you fucking talking to me? Like, what? I'm just enjoying my meal, bro." That was a good moment, dude. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. The look on Jack's face of just like, who are you, dude? Like, there's a good little bonus story for you. I don't know if that was related to the question, but that was. The hot pot was good. It was good. I don't know. That guy did not like us, though. He was insulted. He was like personally insulted on behalf of his city that we ordered that. But it was on the menu, so was it really on us?
No. All right. Anything else you want to say about Talent Life?
I feel like most people are. I mean, the thing is, I feel like most people are homogenized at this point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
For
people came
sure.
from different places originally, and they brought a lot of differences. But at this point, that talent circle has hung out with each other enough through the various groups. Most people know each other that you kind of get used to each other. It's like hard to tell if there's things like that.
Even if even like hanging out with each other is one thing, but also all of these people are very well traveled at this point in time, right? I think every single person in the talent
That
group
plays a part.
that regularly goes to these events or is a pretty international person at this point in time. We don't get to experience that much culture when we go to events. A lot of times it's airport to hotel, hotel to stadium, and then back to the airport at some point in time. But you do enough of these events, and you do go out to eat and get to experience a little bit of some of the cities that you go to. So yeah, I would say it's definitely a pretty homogenous culture at this point in time. So okay, well, I guess that wraps it up. Thank you for watching another episode of Not Safe for Broadcast, and we will see you
man.
next time.
What are you laughing at, man?
Bang.